Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are taking our very first look at it's hard to say new, but the new legendary tier French heavy cruiser, the Henri 4. I apologize to all the French people out there. That's the best I have. I tried. It's the Henri the Fourth for the rest of us. Some would call it the Henry the Fourth. But Henri, I know, is as close to the right way to say it as possible. The fourth, I'm sorry. I know what it's supposed to sound like. Can't make my mouth do it. That's what she said. Anyway, we're gonna go over the commander, Andre Lemonnier. We are running Francesco Membelli and Norman Scott as our inspirations. We are running Beyond Range, Igniter, Punch Through, and Fixated with Fully Packed as our commander skills. For the ship loadout, I do have to make a change in this before I get into it, but we're going to showcase the best match that I've had so far. But anyway, we're running Main Battery Mod 2 in the first slot. These guns are accurate enough, you don't need aiming systems, but you do want to try to speed up the traverse speed of the main guns, so highly recommend that. For the second slot, I actually had steering gears on. I would recommend propulsion mod instead. I do better dodging in the match that you're going to be seeing by slowing down and speeding up than I do when I'm turning. So I don't think that the steering gears is necessarily the right option for this particular ship. I like to get a decent rudder shift so that I can, dodge torpedoes and stuff because I tend to be really aggressive. So, but in this case, I will show you the video and I'll explain it in the video, but I will definitely be switching to propulsion mod. Now, obviously, in the third slot, we are running concealment mod. I think pretty much everybody understands that this is the best option for this slot. And for the fourth slot, this is going to be a bit of a, taste for you. If you want to go with a faster reload time, which I like to do, you are going to give up a little bit of traverse speed, which these ships, these heavy cruisers, already struggle with. So I can understand why somebody would forego the main battery reload for something like the gunfire control system mod, which is going to allow you to fire further. You don't really need the dispersion because these guns are really accurate on their own, but that extra range could come in handy. Plus, you're not nerfing your traverse speed on your guns, allowing you to be able to keep those guns on target more easily while dodging incoming rounds, because you will need to dodge incoming rounds. Okay? Let's go into the loadout. Now, we are running 3 main battery reload boosters because we are running fully packed. We also have repair parties, and we get 3 of those, and 3 engine boosts. Again, fully packed gives us an extra consumable for each one of these, so you'll love to see it. Now, I am not running any boosters. I would say if you're not running the extra range, that I would highly recommend running the Epic Battle booster here. Gives you a little bit more speed, also allows you to shoot further away. So, definitely something that you might want to consider. We are running the Italian Unity camo or flag because if you squint just right, it kind of looks like a Spartan helmet. And then, of course, we decided to forego the legendary or the historical camo and go with a siren camo because honestly, this ship looks absolutely gorgeous with this camo. And maybe you disagree, but I personally love this ship in this camo. It's the first ship I've used it on too. So, survivability. We have 53,300 hit points, which seems a little bit low, but honestly, I don't play a lot of cruisers all the time, so I don't remember exactly where everybody's hit points is, but it definitely seems a little low for Legendary. But it does have a 19% torp reduction, so there's that. From an artillery standpoint, you have really nice guns, and that kind of lends to the fact that you have bigger than average guns. These are not just 8-inch guns that you'd expect on most of your heavy cruisers. These are 240 millimeter guns. 240 millimeter guns, you get 9 of them. They reach out to 17.6 kilometers with this build. Again, you can get that out a little bit further, at least 18 and a half, maybe further if you need to. Honestly, I don't think you need to go much beyond like 18 and a half kilometers, but everybody has their own build. With this build, we have these 240 millimeter guns reloading in 11.1 seconds. The 180 degree turn time, as I said, if you want to forego the extra reload for a little bit more range and getting rid of the nerf on your turret traverse. I understand. It's currently, with this build, 32.1 seconds. So I get it. HE shell maximum damage is 3,400 with a 25% chance to set fires. So pretty nasty fire spammer if you need to. But do not underestimate the AP on French cruisers. I've said this a gajillion times. French cruisers have disgustingly good AP, and this thing is no exception. With the AP maximum damage being 6,696 damage. Nice. Anyway, torpedoes. I forgot to look at the secondaries. You have 127mm 54 caliber MLA 1948. You get 12 of them, reaching out to 5 kilometers, reloading in 4 seconds, doing a maximum damage of 1,800 and a 12% chance to set fires. Moving on. Torpedo launchers. You get 6 of them. And by 6 of them, I mean you have 2 triple launchers, one on either side of the ship. Okay, so 90-second reload is pretty abysmal. They aren't the hardest hitting torpedoes in the world, and they are pretty average in terms of sneakiness. So they don't have much range, 9 kilometers, and they're not the fastest at 60 knots. So they're basically about the most middle-of-the-road torpedoes you could ever ask for. They're nice for when you need them. If you're in a situation where somebody's chasing you down, or if somebody's trying to come around the corner on you that you need to do some damage to, by all means, do what you gotta do, right? But don't rely on torpedoes. The guns are fantastic. Keep your distance as best you can early on, and then move up as it gets a little bit easier on you. For AA, of course, it's French. It's going to have great AA, much like the Americans. They have disgusting AA. 57mm 60 caliber ACAD MLE 1951s. You get 16 of those, doing 204 damage per second, reaching out to 4.5 kilometers. So not too shabby, even right there. And then, of course, you have the 127mm 54 caliber MLE 1948. You get 12 of those, doing just 94 damage per second, reaching out to 5.2 kilometers. So AA isn't terrible. It's not anything to write home about, but it's decent. Okay, that extra 200 damage per second is pretty nice at 4.5 kilometers. So not too shabby. Maximum speed 35 knots. You do have an engine boost on this thing, so you can get that going decently. But turning circle on this thing, not the greatest. And again, that goes back to what I was just saying, where I think you're going to have better odds slowing down and speeding up to dodge shells than you will by using rudder shift alone. The rudder shift base on this is 11.2 seconds. It's not too shabby. You can get that down to about half of that by like 6 or 7 seconds, which becomes a lot more manageable in terms of the rudder shift. But again, I think you're better off having propulsion mod, because you're going to want to dodge, and a lot of dodging comes down to managing your throttle. And if you do not have the ability to go from stop to moving very quickly, you're going to struggle to dodge some of those second and third salvos that people are going to be able to get off on you. Concealment. Detectability by sea is not good. 12.3 kilometers. That is almost battleship-esque. To put that in perspective, a Kansas's detectability is 12.8. This is 12.3, so keep that in mind. Detectability by air 7.7, guaranteed is always 2, and a 9.4 kilometer smoke firing penalty. Big guns. But that smoke firing penalty is abysmal for a heavy cruiser. That being said, here's our stats so far. We have a 100% win rate, 2 games. Again, very small sample size, but a 51% main gun accuracy hit rate. So, again, you don't need aiming systems in there. You don't need the extra accuracy on this particular ship. If you can find another thing that you can buff rather than the accuracy, you'll get more out of your time. But that being said, I mean, our average XP has been ridiculous. Our average damage has been ridiculous. This thing is a fantastic ship. There is no doubt about it. There is no doubt about how good this ship truly is. Ask anybody that I've run into who has been on the receiving end of my games in the first 2 games. This is a great ship. So let's go. We have 25mm bow, which means anything 15 inches and above does overmatch you. So you're going to want to try to avoid getting hit in the bow whenever possible, unless it's a cruiser. For the side plating, we do have that nice little spaced French armor that we all love. So that does protect your Citadel a little bit. It's not going to be reliable against anything battleship caliber, okay? Anything battleship caliber, even even really, I mean, even your heavy cruisers are capable of citadeling this thing if you give a broadside, so just best not to do it. But believe it or not, the spaced armor is pretty nasty at being able to negate some damage that you should probably be taking. French magic armor, French magic bullets are a thing. There's a reason I came up with that, and I know I'm not the only one. There's other people out there on PC that have said French magic armor for a long time. And the French magic bullets, I think I just kind of started a long time ago when Jean Bart came out. But that being said, the spaced armor is there, helping to protect your citadel a little bit, but don't rely on it. Try to keep yourself out of there. It is 30 millimeters, by the way, for those of you who don't know. That is overmatchable by anything 18 inches and above, so 457 mil and above. So that is your Georgia. I know that it wouldn't face, but shoot, God, Ohio, you know, Yamas, obviously. That 30 mil is definitely useful, but at the same time, not going to bail you out in a lot of situations. Plus, it is very flat in the center of the ship. You got some curve here at the bow. You can see the little bit of a curve there, but in the center of the ship where everybody aims for, it is very flat, meaning that if they have the ability to pin you, they will. You can angle against it somewhat, but flat armor is bad armor. We all know this. Just ask anybody who's ever been into Kansas, Vermont, Minnesota, anything like that. If you got flat armor, you're getting smacked. It's hard to angle flat armor. Okay? Get rid of the casemate. Again, that's 30 mil, I believe. Yeah, 30 mil on the side. Again, so overmatchable by anything, 457 mil and above. So you're going to take hits there. Now, here's the thing that you're going to have to be careful with, and that is where your barbettes are and where your citadel is. Your citadel is technically above the waterline. It's very low in the water, but it's above the waterline. It's enough to get you into trouble, so be careful. Now, unfortunately, they only give us one set of launchers per side on this ship. It looks like that by the design, there would have been a second torpedo launcher there, but in game, they've made that a boat launcher for reasons. Who knows? Anyway, with that, especially considering you got that boat launcher right there, right? And then right behind it, you got massive boats stacked on each other with cranes. Like, come on. Do we need the boat launcher? Am I saying we should have more torps? I've officially lost my mind. Shut up, Spartan. We don't need more torps. Anyway, so the citadel, again, above the waterline, you know it's coming. So try to avoid getting over-angled. Try to avoid anything that overmatches your bow and stern, because as we've seen in the past by different ships, if you are bow into something that overmatches you, or stern into whatever's overmatching you, kiting away, it is very easy for ships that overmatch 25 mil to go straight into that citadel. Okay? Front, rear, serious. Get off to the side of the shells and try to dodge as best you can. Overview. Pyromania. Above average fire setting capabilities. That is true, but as I stated, yes, the HE is very, very good. Know when to shoot AP, though. AP is disgusting on this thing, so use it wisely. We'll showcase both in the match coming up. Superior HE penetration, above average HE shell penetration, again, owing to the fact that it's 240 millimeter gun. It's pretty nasty. Barrage, equipped or can be equipped with main battery reload booster. It gets 3 of them, so do not give this thing a broadside in anything, because it will put a hurting on you real quick. And God help any cruiser that decides to give you a broadside. When you shoot them the first time and they decide, oh, I can get my torps off now. He just fired his guns, and then you just pop the reload booster and send him into send him to port faster than he can even torp you. It's hilarious. The Henri IV, developed from the preceding project with enhanced anti-aircraft defenses, this cruiser carried 9.4-inch, 240 millimeter main guns that were designed in 1930s. The ship featured a powerful propulsion plant and could reach an impressive speeds. Year of design was 1956, so post-war. This is basically Korean War territory. But, I mean, that's usually the case for these later ships. Anyway, let's take a look at her. Alrighty, so we are going to be on Crash Zone, and we have a partner today. Something I don't say very often, but I was watching Aaron's stream, and one of my friends, Tuna Man, aka Jason, jumped into chat and said, "Hey, want to play a couple?" I was like, "Sure, why not?" So I jumped in, and then I realized that I had unlocked the Henri, and I was like, well, best yet, I can get a video. Let's go. And so here we are. My second ever game in the Henri the Fourth. At your service. I don't know why I have to say at your service anytime I hear like the fourth. Like, I'm a junior, okay? So like I'm ahead. Like, if I were to have a son and I named him the same thing, God help us, you know, David A. Doyle Jr., right? If I named him the exact same thing, instead of Junior, he would be the third. And at that point, it just sounds pretentious, doesn't it? It's like, well, you've got David Allen Doyle Sr., you've got David Allen Doyle Jr., and now you have David Allen Doyle the third. It just sounds uptight and pretentious. I don't like it. Anyway, we're in the Henri the Fourth, and obviously, we are going to have ourselves a doozy of a match. So hopefully you guys are ready, because this one's got it all, folks. It's got HE, it's got AP, it's got bad battleship captains, it's got bad cruiser captains, it's got bad destroyer captains. It is a beautiful match, full of all of the things that we know and love. So get ready. Now, right off the bat, we are loading the HE. And of course, right off the bat, because I'm spotted by their destroyer, I get shot at by two Ohios, which I think we can all agree is not an ideal scenario for somebody who's in a cruiser, or a battleship for that matter, but specifically a cruiser. Jason behind me is very happy to have me in this game. In fact, he told me, he's like, "Oh, I forgot what it was like to have somebody like you in my game where I can just sit here broadside to two Ohios and they won't even bother shooting at me." I was like, "Thanks, buddy. I'm glad I could be of help. Glad to be of service." Henri the Fourth, at your service. But no, we are going to do our best to stay alive. Meanwhile, they've got nothing else to shoot at except me, because, yeah, reasons. Now, the Jason is in, or Tuna is actually in the Conqueror in this one. So we've got lots of HE going down range every so often, and these Ohios are going to find out that, oh, that's very accurate. That's very concerning. Anytime that you see shells flying towards your ship and they're that accurate, you're like, okay, I know I'm already turning, but I just gotta double check and make sure that they're not gonna hit me and send me to the Shadow Realm. Like, we've all been there, right? We've all been caught. Ain't nobody out here saying that they ain't ever been death struck. I'm sorry, I disagree. Everybody's died at some point. Everybody's been caught. It happens. Especially when you're in a squishy cruiser that is just begging for it from any of these battleships out here with 457mm guns. Do you remember me saying that the 457mm guns overmatch the side? And yeah, you don't angle against 457s in this thing. It doesn't work. It doesn't care. You have 30mm of side plating. Meaning the 457 simply just ignore whatever angle that they hit you at. They go straight through it. So, yeah, not an ideal scenario to find yourself on the receiving end of no less than, it'd be 16 457mm guns looking in my direction. Yeah, not ideal. But by utilizing smarter gameplay, by utilizing proper island cover, you're going to realize real quick why this thing cannot utilize island cover like a lot of cruisers. And that is because it's French. It has fast guns. The fast guns do not lob. They tend to go straight at a target. Which is beautiful when you're loading up AP or HE. If you're shooting at a destroyer especially, it's fantastic. If you're shooting at cruisers, it's fantastic, because you can easily get into those nasty citadels that the cruisers love to hide on everybody. But what you will see is, I can't lob the island. And these guys are at longer ranges. I mean, Burgon over here is at like 17 kilometers, and I couldn't lob the island. So what do? Well, I sneak up a little bit, get up the edge of the island. You know, you notice how that island slopes down? Some people might say that that's, you know, nature doing that. No, that's wargaming doing that. Why? Because not every cruiser can sit out in the open and tank damage. And some of us have to utilize island cover, and not every cruiser can utilize the island the way that we are trying to do. So we have to use the slope of the island to shoot over that instead. praying to God that we can hide our superstructure from angry battleships. Fortunately for me, this is the perfect place. I can do this all day. Literally Captain America out here. Or in this case, I guess it would be Captain France. But we are just going to rain hellfire on anything that moves, right? And this is me trying to use the reload booster to get the permafire on the Begonia after getting him to damage con already. Not ideal. But you can see, you can get 2 or 3 salvos out in one reload. And there we get the fire. That's a permafire you love to see. Now, when we get the second fire, I tell Jason behind me, aka Tuna, I say, hey, Burgon's on a double fire. I think it was a double fire. Or no, at this point I'm telling him, hey, he's gonna run aground, so you don't have to worry about shooting at him. He's gonna come back out, don't worry. Because he's not gonna sit there, because I'm just gonna keep burning him if he sits there. So he's gotta come back out. And when he does, he's gonna be broadside. So Tuna's gonna be ready, as well as the rest of the teammates that are over here. They're gonna be ready. Now, they do have the destroyer that's over here, which we know is a Shimakaze. Our Hayate has lost a good chunk of his hit points because he engaged the Shimakaze early while the Shima had help and paid the price for it, so he couldn't attack him. Here you can see I am desperately trying to get shots on target on this Burgonia as he runs away. Remember, I don't have the most range set up for this build, so shooting at these longer ranges, I know they're going to get away eventually. It's not like I'm out here in a Kutuzov shooting 20 plus kilometers or a Chappie shooting 20 plus kilometers. I need a little bit more range on my build, I think. But in most cases, I don't have to. Oh my god. Hello, Shimakaze. Welcome to the fight. So here you're going to see some of the troll French dispersion that you hate to see. I didn't quite lead them enough. Again, it comes down to inexperience with the ship. Every ship's a little bit different. But fortunately, Yamato and our Hayate able to take out the destroyer. And now the Ohios have decided that they simply must come up and introduce themselves after all this time. And he immediately pays for it by getting a fire, which was a double fire, which he immediately extinguishes, which is a terrible idea when you see a Conqueror and you know a fire spamming cruisers in the nearby or in the area. So he gets double fired here, and I'm like, okay, I should probably stop shooting at him because obviously the Conqueror set a bow fire. I set a fire on the middle section of the ship. So stop shooting at the Ohio because he's about to, oh my god, somebody else got the third fire and he immediately gets the free damage con. Hate to see it. We knew it was coming, that's why we stopped shooting at him, right? Like, very few people nowadays don't run the fight fire with fire skill. So if you're in a fire spammer and you get that second fire, it's just a good idea to not try to test fate and get that third fire. Don't get greedy. Let the 2 fires do their jobs, alright? And I know that I'm a battleship captain, and that's going to bite me in the butt, because the more people I teach about using or avoiding fight fire with fire, the more likely I am to get stuck with those annoying double fires. I get it. But Burgonia comes out here. Again, look at the damage, though. Like, this is the difference between shooting at a really, really thick ship and shooting at something that's very squishy. The Burgonia is not known for its armor, okay? And our HE is just tearing this man apart. Yes, we are hitting superstructure, but we're also getting some penetrations into the deck. He goes broadside, and we go ahead and trigger our second reload booster. We're angled enough. He does get some pins through the back. And remember, 15-inch guns do overmatch our bow and stern, so we got to be careful. But we get a couple of good AP salvos into the broadside of that Burgonia, and he realizes pretty quickly he probably shouldn't have disrespected us like that. Obviously, you got Tuna out there doing his thing as well. Speaking of which, Tuna has now pushed forward. He is in the middle of a really, really bad situation. Not that he's got to shoot at an Ohio. Ohios are one thing. Yes, they're devastating, but you can angle against them. Well, you know what you can't angle against in a Conqueror? The Conqueror's biggest weakness is a Minotaur. Unfortunately, that's exactly where he finds himself. Minotaur, if you've never seen what happens when a Conqueror finds itself against a Minotaur, it is absolutely disgusting. There ain't a single thing you can do about it. You're too slow, you're too big of easy of a target. The Mino will shred you in seconds. If you ever want to know what I'm talking about, there is I forget if it's a stream or it had to have been a stream, but there's a video clip, I'm sure of it, where Aaron and I focused down a Conqueror on Land of Fire with 2 Minos, and that man went from full health to no health in rapid succession. And remember, he gets the heal too. So he only got one heal off, and it didn't matter. All it did was feed even more HP to me and Aaron. But it was pretty hilarious. But yeah, needless to say, I'm about to be in a bit of a pickle here, because as you can see, there's no angling against an Ohio, okay? He's going to pin me, right? He's got 457mm guns, our 30mm of side plating. Not going to really do much here. So, what we have to do is try to close the distance. We stop firing. Try to close the distance to allow us to help with the Mino. We've got AP loaded because I know we got good pin angles, and yeah, we're going to slap this Mino around quite a bit. He's got there's nothing he can really do here. We've got such good pin angles on him, and I don't know if this overmatches, to be perfectly honest. I know that it's 16 mils of armor, right? Like, that's what the Mino has. So it'd be 16 times 14.3 is 228. So yes, we do technically overmatch the Mino. So he can't angle against us either. I didn't know that at the time. I'm just waiting for him to open up and let me Citadel him. But you'll see here as I aim high that I get a Citadel straight through the bow. Yeah, you're not going to have a good time, Mr. Mino. And down he goes. Again, expected. But as you can see, I'm now finding myself in a situation where I'm fighting a Worcester and an Ohio, and the Ohio is the biggest threat to me. It's going to be so hard for that Worcester to land consistently, but this is a prime example of a situation where I needed propulsion mod. If I had had propulsion mod, I could have probably dodged these guys all day long, because they're not particularly good at leading targets. They're not guessing what I'm doing very well. But because it takes me so long to get moving, because I didn't have propulsion mod in this match, this is one of those situations where I find myself hating the fact that I chose steering gears. But we're getting hit 1 or 2 shells here and there by the enemy Worcester. We get a shot out on the Ohio here. We turn, we avoid the shells, no problem. That's a double fire. He's going to damage con that because they all do. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we've managed to get ourselves into 240,000 damage. Where did it come from? Nobody knows. It just happened. But we get the rear turret out, hoping for the permafire, knowing that I'm probably dead. Unfortunately, we did not get the permafire, but we set him up to where somebody else could potentially get a permafire on him. And our team has all 3 caps, and despite the fact that our destroyer is very low health, despite the fact that our battleship is very low health, and despite the fact that our last cruiser alive is a full health Mino, like, as long as nobody does anything stupid, we should win, right? The last thing we want to see is a bunch of people trying to win harder. Now, the Ohio manages to get away for now, gets out of range. Our destroyer wisely stops shooting at him as my ship breaks in half and sinks to the briny deeps. We are just kind of just chatting back and forth. We're just watching. I want to see how this ends, you know? Sometimes you just got to watch a train wreck unfold in front of your eyes and just gasp at how bad sometimes people tend to play situations. It's like, you gotta recognize when it's okay to stop shooting, okay? Now, Mino, you're full health. You've got a super heal, I'm sure, that you've still got left, because you probably haven't been hit up to this point. There's no real reason for you to be anywhere near a position where you can be shot back. And the game is almost over. We got 950 points. You can see the shells coming in. He's going to be struggling to hit anything except maybe the Ohio at this range. But between him and the battleship has done the right thing and reversed behind the island. He's not able to shoot anything, unfortunately for him. Or at least, I don't think he is. But they are shooting back at our teammates. And it's just a matter of time before somebody screws up. But our destroyer wisely waits until the very last second, fires his guns for no reason whatsoever. And we end up winning on points. Disaster averted. But it could have gone either way. Mino is always a one-shot away from certain death, but 243,000 damage in our second game in the Henri. 3,000 base XP. Not too shabby. So let me know what you guys think down below. Do you still think that I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to playing cruisers? I don't know. If you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.